Okay, don't mind the mess in the room if you can see it. So we're gonna start off with some primer. You already prepped your skin, already put your sunscreen on, and I pump probably about that much primer into my hands. I kind of warm it up together and I just kind of pat it on my face. Okay, I'll let that sit for probably about 20 seconds. Let it kind of marinate, if you will. Get it a little bit sticky. And then I warm up my concealer, then I warm up my foundation. There we go. And it's all up to you how you want to apply your foundation. You can apply it with your fingers, you can apply it with a brush. I sometimes apply it with a brush, and then I will go in with a damp beauty blender. So you get it wet, and then you completely squeeze out all the water. I put it in a towel and I squeeze out all the water. So I'm using Estee Lauder Double Wear. That's what I'm using for my foundation. So I just shake it up and then I just kind of dot it on my face. That's what I'm using today. Sometimes I wear a different foundation, but this one's a little bit darker. My other one's not my summer shade. So this one I'm just going to use a brush to blend in, and then I'll use a beauty blender to just kind of blur it out. So I don't usually use that much foundation. This is quite full coverage. I use sparingly under the eye area though, just because I am going to be putting concealer there, so I don't want to put too much product there. As you can see, it's definitely still really white on me. But I get some on my eyelids too. That's good enough for me. And then I go back in my beauty blender and try to blend it out as much as I can. Just to kind of give it a little bit, settle it a little more into the skin. Okay, my face is super white compared to my chest. This is a step that we didn't do, but I'm going to go over anyways, just in case you ever want to invest in cream products. So I go in with Makeup Maria Soft Sculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer. It's basically a cream contour. I recently got a Rhode cream contour too, but I like this one because it's a lot creamier. I go in and I kind of just go in where I would go in with where I'm going to go in with my bronzer later. And I just kind of go over the forehead, the cheek, as you can kind of see I'm warming up my face after my foundation just completely washed me out. But going where we talked about, going where the sun kisses your face. So kind of like a C motion between your cheekbones here and up around my forehead. And it already like brought my face back to life a little bit more. I'm going to go over this with my bronzer, so this is definitely a step that you don't have to do. I'm just contouring my nose right now so it's not flat, one-dimensional. I just go under my nose right here, a line right here, and lining it right here. Give me a little bit more of a button nose effect. Okay, so from here, you probably skipped that step because you don't have a cream contour, but from there, I'll go in and I will get my concealer. You take your concealer, and I go in very light-handed with concealer because you can always add more. And I put about 2 dots there, and any other place where I feel like I need coverage, but I start off with 2 dots there, and I tend to need a little bit more around my nose, but that's it for concealer for me. And then I will go in and I will blend that. So I take some leftover excess and I also go in to the corners of my eyes and my eyelid with the leftover concealer on my sponge. Just so whenever I apply eyeshadow, it'll be like an even base. So I feel like I need to go in a little bit more right here and here with my concealer. Not too much though. So I just put a dot here, a dot here. But that's what I mean, like you don't want to go in too much because then you're not going to be able to take it back. After that's blended out as much as I want, you can kind of add it where you want. I'm putting a little bit on the bridge of my nose just to kind of contour, keep that contour in place. So after you're done with that, make sure everything's blended out. That's when you take your powder. And I just put a little bit on the lid. And then I will take my beauty powder puff. And this is where you don't want to too much, but I put some on my powder puff. And then I take my palm or the top of my hand and I kind of press the powder in right there just to get the excess powder off so you're not going in with a heavy hand. And once you do that, I take that and I'll go in and just lightly press and set that concealer. Go back in, press it on my palm, kind of, if you see how I'm kind of like pressing on my palm, I'm kind of getting an even layer on here so there's not like a clump of powder just like hanging out. And then I press it. Make sure there's no creases too, so if you have any creases you can blend it out with your beauty sponge. But I go in with the leftovers and I just kind of pat around. So anytime I go back in, I press it on the back of my hand or my palm. And then you can just powder any of the foundation and any of the concealer. I know I'm looking a little crazy right now. Just trust the process. I also get a little bit and I do the eyelids too, because my eyelids will definitely crease. I have creasy eyelids. And then I take the rest and just lightly powder the rest of the face from your foundation. And you won't have any of that cream contour for the bronzer, so your face will be looking kind of flat right now, but don't worry, we're going to go in with bronzer now. So you take your bronzer. This is mine. This is the Medium Dark Soft Sculpt Blurring Bronzer by Makeup by Mario. And I go in with a bronzing brush and I just swirl it around. You can tap it a little bit. And then I go in, I pull my hairline back a little bit and I lightly go in. You want to work it slowly. You don't want to like just going in there. I just lightly go away from the face. And I do that same like C area, because if you do too much, it'll look a little crazy. And then I kind of pinch my brush too, and I go along the lines where I was contouring my nose. If you don't want to do the contour, you can just kind of like brush it across your nose a little bit. But you don't need to do too much product when it comes to your bronzer. You can do under your chin like we talked about. It lines your jaw a little bit, but I'm trying to use up the rest of the product. And you can kind of go in. Don't do too much right here because this is where your concealer's at. But as you see, I only had to like dip in once. You don't have to dip in multiple times. Sorry, my hair's coming out. I did pin my hair back so that way my hair doesn't get in my face. Okay, so back to next is going to be blush. This is my blush. Blush, you definitely want to be light-handed with your blush. I'm going in here and tap a little bit. And I like to kind of tap on the back of my hand just to make sure that I'm not getting too much blush. But I kind of go in right on my cheekbone and I'll press it in. You don't want to do too much. Right on top of where the bronzer sat on your cheekbone, and you can kind of gauge how much blush you want, whether you want a lot, whether you want a little bit. I'm a blushaholic. I love a lot of blush, so I like to look a bit flushed. This is an option. This is optional. This part is optional. There we go. Come on. I take the excess of what's on here and I just kind of dab the tip of my nose on it. Kind of gives you a more of like a sunburnt vibe. But, and I kind of drag it onto like the tips of my eyelid. There we go. If you want, you can take the back of your sponge and lightly press it in here. Put on your palm, excess on your palm, and then I kind of do a little bit of a transition right here so that it's not a harsh line. But again, you can do that a little bit with your brush too. So then I like to go in with my highlighter. You can go in with the same as your blush brush, or you can do a highlighter brush. I do either or, depending on if I have the brush or not. But first I take tip of my finger, I dip it in, and I hit the tip of my nose, bridge of my nose, and then I take a brush, the side of the brush, and I just kind of blur that out so it's not super severe. Cupid's bow, and then you dip your chin, and then I blur that out. All right, and then this one, I take the edge of the brush, dip it in. Again, I go on the edge of my hand so it's not going to be too much. And then I hit the tip, my temple, tips of my cheekbone, just in this area. You can see how the light hits that. Same thing on the other side. Hit my cheekbone, my temple, kind of rub it around. There. So there is your base layer. I already did my eyebrows. I use that eyebrow gel. Let's see if I can find it. I use this eyebrow gel that we bought, and I just brushed it through my brows. I didn't put any other product in. I just brushed it through my brows. I brushed it up like that, and then I took the tip of it, and I just kind of brought it down and shaped it a little bit. That was it. So, and it kind of brushes out the product, the powder in your face. Okay, what's next? Oh, eyeshadow. Okay, so I already have my eyelashes on because I already did my makeup for the day, and then I took it off so I could film this for you. So my palette is going to be the Maneater Tarte palette. First thing you want to do is you want to take your lighter shade. So I've got a white and like a light beigey one, and I take, if you have like a flat brush, I don't know if you can see that. I've got like a flat brush. That's what I use for that. I dip it in like the lighter shade, and I just cover my whole eyelid with that. The whole eyelid with that, and then I take the more tan shade, not the whiter one, and I hit the tip of my brow bone. Holy cannoli. So lighter shade all over the lid, and then the tan shade, or the little bit darker shade on the brow bone. All over. You want to take a fluffy brush, dip it into I call it a transition shade. So we've got black, brown, and then we've got these two transition shades. This is going to be what goes in between the darker shades. So I'm going to take, obviously, this is a very well-loved palette. I'm going to take this transition shade right here. And I'm only going to focus on swirling it on the outer corner of my eyelid. You don't want to bring it in because that'll, if you have more inset eyes or larger eyelids, it's going to not make it look great. But this is more of a soft look. So you take the transition shade, you only focus it on the outer corner, and you just swirl it in circles. As you can see, it's working its way up, but you don't want it to hit the brow bone. You want to leave a little bit of space. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And don't be afraid to go back in, but I was talking about fallout. How you can prevent fallout, like under here, is if your palette is super, super powdery, take some translucent powder, and instead of dipping it on the back of your hand, just take a little bit and just have it under here. Like you can see this visible powder. And then when you're done with your eyeshadow, and if any of the fallout from the eyeshadow comes down, you can quite literally just take a brush after that and then sweep it off, and then it'll help with any of that eyeshadow fallout. I'm so sorry. I'm like slurring my words. I swear I don't drink. I'm going back in with that transition shade. If you feel like there's a lot of fallout, just tap it like that and the fallout will come off the brush. So continue to work this transition shade on the outside. It shouldn't take that long. This is, I'm just over blending it right now because I'm over explaining. Okay, so I did that. I don't want to do a too complicated eye look, so I'm just going to show you how to do that in like a soft wing liner. You should have something that looks like this. It's like more of like a concentrated tip. If you don't have this, then you should have something like this bad boy. It's like an angled brush with that. So I'm going to use more so this one. This one's more like a thin pencil brush. And then get a card or sticky note or something like that. Something a little bit harder that has a straight edge. So this is from an eyeshadow palette. It went like it was like a cover inside of an eyeshadow palette. So you grab one of these, and I take this. I'm going to dip it into the brown. I do not use black because I feel like black is too harsh, but I'm going to dip it into this dark brown right here in this corner. Tap it a few times. Tap it out. And I'm going to take this, and I'm going to line it right here. However you want the wing shaped. I take it here. And then I close my eyes, and then I only concentrate on the outside. I get thinner and thinner. Just do a little bit at a time. Less is more when it comes to darker colors, because then it gets harder to fix if you go in too heavy-handed. And voila, that's what it looks like. I'll do the same thing on this side. Dip into my dark brown, tap it off, and I kind of go into my like eyeball, like eyeliner, not eyeliner, my waterline. But yeah, they are definitely not going to be matching 100%, just like your eyebrows won't match. My eyebrows and my eyeliners are sisters. They're not twins. They're not going to be identical. But I concentrate a lot of it on the edge right here, and then as I go out, I get thinner and thinner, and I'll put more on this plastic piece just so I can get that thin wing. And I go back more when I need to. And there she is. See how they're not, this one's a little bit thinner than this one. You can always adjust as you see fit. I'm going to go back in, make it a little bit thicker. And that's it. So that's how my eyeliner's looking. I do like to go into the bottom part and maybe just connect just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit on the edges. so it ties it in. And then I will take this flat brush again and dip it into the lighter shades, and I'll come in underneath here. But I like to keep like this half of my eyes light with white and light eyeshadow, because my eyes are a little bit more closer together. So if your eyes are more closer together set, you want to concentrate the eyeshadow and the eyeliner going out this way and none on the front part. If your eyes are further apart, you want to concentrate on all the way around. So, and then I'm going to dust off this eyeshadow, or not eyeshadow, the extra powder. And then after that, you curl your eyelashes, put your lashes on, do your eyebrows, and that's your final look. I don't think I missed anything. Okay. And then you come in with your setting spray, and I would say follow directions. I'm pretty sure it says like 12 inches away from your face, and hold your breath. Keep holding your breath. And you can take like a piece of paper or something like that, and you see me do it, and then you like do that. So, and then if you feel like your face is a little bit shiny still, you can obviously take powder and dab it a little bit. I like to do that. But yeah, I think that is the finished look. A soft eyeshadow look. If you want any more details, let me know. Oh, I need to do the lips. I never went to do the lips. Let me go get my lip stuff. Let's go on with the lip stuff. So I have that Huda Beauty Toasted Brown. I think that's what it was. Remember I said keep it stored upside down before you use it, at least like 15-20 minutes before you use it, so that way all the ink goes to the felt tip. And this is how I do mine. I'm going to try to keep this up and close as much as possible. So I go with the bottom first, and then I line the bottom part. I do that, and I line the bottom part. Like that, and then I hurry go in with my fingertip, and I smudge it. So I smudge it like that. I do personally like to overline my lips, so it makes my lips look a little bit larger. That's up to you if you want it to look larger. If you want it to look larger, focus on the bottom part, right here. And then smudge it. If you don't feel comfortable with that, just follow the natural line of your lips. So I start up here too, and I draw an X where my Cupid bow is at. Like that. And then I smudge it. From there. And then from there, I can go down and follow my natural line. But I smudge it down into my lips, so that way it brings most color to my lips. But I try to make it as even as possible. My lips aren't super symmetrical, so this is when I try to make it as symmetrical as possible. But that's my lip routine. Not always perfect. And then you can bring in as much color as you want into your lips, and then smudge it. But this will stay pretty much most of the day. And you can have it as lined as possible or as smudged as possible. And that's what I mean, like you can put this color all over your lips, or you can just have it lining your lips. But before you put any like lip gloss on it, you want it to like kind of let it sink in a bit. But yeah, that is my lip liner. That'll stay. And then I usually take like a lip gloss. I have this brown lip gloss from Naturium. And then I just line it like that. And reapply my lip gloss as wanted. So that's it. Let me know if you have any questions. I know this was pretty quick, but I just wanted to kind of show you a quick tutorial of the products that you bought. So please let me know if you have any questions.